The banks there are closed today as the leadership tries another round of what they call economic reforms. Becky mentioned the massive devaluation. They're also going to introduce a new currency, which removes 5 zeros from the biggest bill as the country suffers from hyperinflation, which some economists say is now worse than it ever was in the Weimar Republic. The largest bill is a 100,000 bolivar note. It's worth 3 U.S. cents. A cup of coffee is reported to cost 2 million bolivars, so they're going to change that. They're also going to raise the minimum wage by more than 1,000% and raise gasoline prices to international levels to combat smuggling. You know, it's subsidized, so if you can get it to Colombia, you can sell it for a lot more. The Syria-like border crisis with its neighbors is worsening. Millions are trying to flee what some are now calling the Somalia of Latin America. It's not clear what's going to finally force change there. The government clings to socialist beliefs of price controls and also state control of resources. Wall Street Journal reporting Goldman Sachs is facing losses on its heavily criticized purchase of Venezuelan bonds from last year. Goldman bought them at 31 cents on the dollar. In June, they marked them at 18 cents on the dollar, so they're probably worth less now.
So who owns those bonds? Aren't they in their mutual funds or
Yes,
something?
exactly. So remember, Volcker rule doesn't permit, banks themselves to actually take position. So they bought these, and then they were sold to clients, and they're sitting in a lot of individual accounts. So the clients would have taken on the risk of that.
When was the last time, how long ago was Venezuela kind of a country where you could visit it? It was before Chavez, I guess? Is it?
You could visit it up until, under what sort of, you mean when it was safe or when America?
No, what I'm getting to is when was the minimum wage not $1 a month? What was the best it ever was? They're getting to $30 a month. What was the best it ever was? Was it ever $200 a month, or was it ever a normal, like Western type, what you'd think of as something in the Americas? Was it ever 5,000?
So this descent into chaos definitely started under Chavez. The problem you had in Venezuela for a long time, which was true for a lot of Latin America still, is you had the very rich and the very poor and no middle class. Venezuela has suffered from having too much oil. Countries that have too much oil, we have seen often make very bad decisions because they have so much money.
As much because there's nobody who will invest to get the oil out of the ground.
Because you don't know if you're going to still own it.
2 million barrels.
You can't take a risk.
They were supposed to be at 6 million barrels per day. I mean, it's pathetic.
But does everyone know it's the living wage? No, that it's $1. I read $1 a month. And that struck me. I didn't realize just right down in Venezuela.
It's hard to do apples to apples because they've had massive devaluations and hyperinflation. Maybe that particular amount of bolivars at one point was actually a livable wage, right? But now it's been devalued so much.
But they're only going to $30 a month.
Right, and that'll be worthless. I mean, they keep raising the minimum wage because inflation is so bad.
If you're right.
You want to? And I'm very curious where we get this number from, because you can't get it out of Venezuela directly. Used to be a guy at Home Depot who would quote the traders down in Cucuta, Colombia, where they trade on the street. And that's
a guy at Home Depot?
Yeah, a guy at Home Depot used to run it during his lunch break. I'm not kidding.